Tom Stewart breaks a record for most tries in a season as Ulster survival wobbles to secure a bonus point win. My name is Mark. Let's talk rugby. It was pretty tight in the first few minutes, but Ulster score from pretty much their first real attack of the game. They get it out wide to McCann, shows some good pace, then flicks it back inside to Lowry. Ulster then recycling McCluskey with a lovely offload out the back of his hands, keeps the move going. Then they get it out to McCann again, and he goes over in the corner. It's converted by Cooney, 7-0. Dragons, though, they hit back immediately. Basham bursts into 22. Then an amazing offload from the floor to Angus O'Brien, who scores under the post. He converts his own try, and we're 7-all. Dragons then come on attack. They're on the edge to 22, but there's a forward pass, so it's a scrum to Ulster. Ulster then get themselves back in the attack. Stockdale picks a great line to go through into 22. Then he picks out Craig Gilroy, who goes over in the corner, but the try is chalked off because Vermeulen was adjudged to have taken O'Brien out off the ball. Penalty to Dragons. The guys in the commentary thought it was a little bit harsh because O'Brien was basically the one who committed to the tackle, and I tend to agree with them. Dragons, so then they go close themselves, get fairly, within a few meters of the Ulster line, but Hume gets over the ball and wins a penalty. And, it's just kind of end-to-end stuff at this point. Both teams getting on attack, but then being able to turn over when they're in defence. Referee Ben Blaine then finds himself between Vermeulen and Leon Brown, and he basically stops the play. We have a scrum restart. He did have a joke with Vermeulen, asking Vermeulen if he was okay after running into him. I thought that was kind of funny. Roger Williams then is told to get the ball into the scrum, but he doesn't want to because he can see that Dragons are going to be on the back foot. He gets a warning from the referee. We reset, and then Ulster win the penalty at the scrum. They decide to go to the corner and attack. Wainwright gets pinged for a hand on the floor. It's another penalty. They go back into the corner, set up a maul, and then the URC's top scorer, Tom Stewart, gets his 14th try of the season. One we've seen him score a lot. Set up the maul, he's at the back. Then he picks his time to peel and go over. Conversions missed, we're at 12-7. Lowry then, a nice cross kick to McCluskey, who grubbers in behind the Dragons' defence. Gilroy gives chase and Dragons have to kick it clear. It's a 5-metre line out to Ulster. Dragons collapse them all illegally. They get warned by the referee. Ulster back into the corner from the new penalty. Elliott collapses again and he gets himself a yellow card. Then Ulster goes to the corner, set them all. Stewart, another try for him. 15th of the season, and it's a new record in the URC or previous incarnations of this competition for the most number of tries by any one player in a single season. Cooney converts that one from the touchline. It's 19-7. Dragons then, they return to 15 early in the second half, and they have a sustained period of possession in the Ulster half, but Marcus Ray manages to get over the ball, wins the penalty for Ulster. Ulster then strike. Some good interplay between MacLeod and Cooney, gets MacLeod in behind the defence. They get it out to Stockdale. He draws the cover, and Tom Stewart pops up on the wing to receive the pass from Stockdale and go over to score his hat-trick try. It's converted 26-7, bonus point secured for Ulster, and Stewart increases his tally in terms of the new record that he set for tries scored. Dragons then get their second after a scrum penalty allows them to kick to the corner. They set up the maul, but Elliot Dees is at the back. He immediately peels off, so they're basically just faking the maul to catch Ulster on the hop, and he crashes over to score, converted by Will Reid. It's 26-14. Then within a couple of minutes, they've scored again. They turn the ball over. It's a nice break from them, and then Williams goes over to score. Conversion is missed for this one. It's 26-19. Ulster really switched off there. Ulster then looking a bit shaky, and they have that wobble that I was talking about. They feel like they need to refocus. They do then seem to settle themselves. They go through some phases in the Dragons' half. They force a penalty, go to the corner, but Dragons actually manage to nick the line out. And eventually the Dragons kick to touch, but they're still in their own 22. At this point, Stewart is replaced by John Andrew at hooker. Andrew then is involved in Ulster's next try. He has two involvements. First of all, takes the line out, it's secured, it's popped then out to him again, and he draws defence and puts Nick Timoney through a hole to score. That's converted for 33-19. Treadwell then gets pinged for jumping over the maul, and Dragons decide to go to the corner. Basically, like he was at the back of the maul, there was a player in between him and the ball carrier, and he was pretty much like climbing up or jumping over, trying to get his hands on the ball carrier, and got pinged by the referee. Dragons, they go to the corner, set up the maul, but Ulster managed to get in there, disrupt, and make it unplayable. Stuart Moore then attempts a clearance. He gets charged down, but the ball bounces back into his hands, so he makes a half break, finds Cooney. Cooney gets into the Dragons' half and then nudges it in behind the defence and very close to the Dragons' line. Dragons then, they kind of get it clear, but they never really get out of their own half pretty much for the next few minutes. Ulster camped in their half and they get a good maul drive. They get pretty close. They're told to use it, so they get it out. Cooney has it. He's got two men outside, and there's no cover defence for Dragons. He goes to the pass, but then Hewitt slaps the ball down. He gets a yellow card, and then on review, it's a penalty try as well. That makes the score 40-19, and that is our final score. Now, let's have a look at some of the stats from the game. So, starting with the attack, tries scored 6 for Ulster, 3 for Dragons. Dragons, offered more an attack here than we've seen from them in a while. Possession then was 50-50. Clean breaks was 8 for Ulster and 3 for the Dragons. Ulster, they made some breaks and, they had a few ones where maybe like passes were forced a little bit and they went forward, or moves would break down, but generally they did fairly well on the break, and it backs and forwards interchanging a lot as well. It's good to see that, and also kind of find a bit more fluidity to their attack as we come towards the end of the season. Defenders beaten then, 17 for Ulster, 19 for the Dragons. Dragons, a lot of decent play from them, and they did get their 3 tries. But other than like that period in the middle where they got those couple of tries in quick succession, never really felt like they were going to, put Ulster in any danger of losing the game. Offloads 15 from Ulster, 5 from the Dragons. Some of the offloads from Ulster were very telling, especially that one from McCluskey that led to that opening try for McCann. Now on to defence. Territory was 41% to 59% in favour of the Dragons. So Dragons, as I said, they had some decent periods in the game, and got themselves in good positions. Sometimes they could finish in, after they kind of got the third try, they had a couple of chances, like even at the right at the end, they were actually on attack, and right next to the Ulster line, but knocked the ball on. Like, so, for next season, probably want to cut out some of those errors. There was actually a bit of a scuffle after the final whistle. I think one of the Dragons players wasn't too happy with some kind of contact near his eye, I think, in the tackle or something. But speaking of tackles, like number of tackles, 123 each. So Ulster, made to defend. They didn't have, like, it looked like from at the start that maybe they would just be on attack for most of the game, but Dragons definitely had their periods as well. Missed tackles then, 19 for Ulster, 17 for the Dragons. Ulster are going to want to tighten that up for next round and also for the knockout stages as well. Tackle success then 87% for each, which is fairly decent, but I think in a tight game in a quarterfinal, again, Ulster will want to improve that by a percentage point or two. Turnovers 1, then 7 each as well. There was some really good turnovers by both teams, especially when it looked like the opposition were going to get some joy and get a score. But some decent work at the breakdown. Next, then we have kicking. So kicking success, 4 for Ulster, 2 for the Dragons. Dragons, I think Reid missed the second conversion from him, so their third try, like, it looked very gettable, and didn't do all that well with it. And then I think at some point, I think it was him, right, that kind of slipped when they're trying to kick a penalty into the corner as well. And then, penalties conceded, 5 for Ulster, which is very good discipline from them. 11 for the Dragons. Again, it's something that they're going to have to work on for next season. I know some people think, oh, well, like, they've only one game left this season, so what does it matter? But it does matter, because you need to set that bar, and for them for next season, to say, like, that we need to be more disciplined. And in a game like this, where they had that period where they could have potentially made a comeback, it was a penalty that allowed Ulster to basically lift the siege that they had after those 2 quick tries. So discipline does play a part in stuff like that. So in terms of the 2 teams, then Dragons I'd say it was probably their best performance in the second half of the season, and it was kind of reminiscent of when Di Flanagan first took over after, I think it was 2 games of this season, and he really gave like a bounce to the squad, and they looked competitive and actually got some decent results as well. But second half of the season, they haven't looked anything like that team until this evening. That was definitely the best performance of the second half of the season for them. I think it will give them something to build on for next year, but they're going to have to be more consistent. They can't like have a decent run where they're competitive and then just kind of fall off in terms of staying in games and just looking like they're interested. Is not really, that's a disservice to them. But for the second half of the season, I felt like that they didn't believe that they could get results, whereas in the first half of the season they seemed to feel that they could. And I don't know what changed between those two halves of the season, but hopefully this Dragons team is more what we're going to see next year. They don't have to win like a ton of games, just be competitive in games, and that's something again that as they improve, then they will hopefully move up the table as well from that kind of 15th place where they've been stuck for a few seasons now. Ulster then, they got the bonus point win. It keeps the pressure up on the Stormers, but they really can't afford to switch off the way they did midway through this one in the playoffs, or, it's going to be similar story for them where, they can't make it to that final that they really want to get to, and obviously get their hands on the silverware as well. So it's, we're in the really important part of the season for them and for all the other teams who are going for the playoffs, and you can't afford lapses like that. And if they do, then it's going to be another season where it's going to be a case of what might have been for what is a very talented squad.